Welcome to another video, the same every time, GCSE Maths, GCSE Maths, looking at the questions that apart from the numbers are the same every time. When you see them on your exam paper, you will recognize them, you will know what to do. Apart from the numbers, it will be exactly the same methods that we've looked at in these videos. Let's see if we can do this one very quickly. I'm going to look at two exam questions in this video. The first one here is familiar stuff, but notice they do write there you must show all your working, so presumably there's some reason for that. Let's see what happens. So find the coordinates of the two stationary points of y equals, I'll write it down, so it's y equals x cubed minus 1.5x squared plus 1. When they are asking us about stationary points, the method is, well, not surprisingly, the same every time. What we have to do is differentiate and put our differentiation equal to 0. So as soon as you see stationary points written in there, you do dy by dx, multiply by the power and decrease the power by 1. Multiply by the power, so negative 1.5 times 2 is negative 3. Decrease the power by 1, and the plus 1 on its own, a number on its own, will differentiate to make 0. So we must put our differentiated function equal to 0, and then we solve to find x. Even if you're not sure what to do next, by remembering to do this and realizing it's the same every time, you're still getting yourself into the method marks. Now, this is a quadratic equation. However, it does not have a number on its own. It just has the x squared and the x. I've said this before. Do not be tempted to think, I know what I'll do here. I'll simplify. I'll divide everything by x. Never divide by the thing that you actually want to find. That's how you can lose solutions. The method with this is to factorize. Well, 3 and 3, common factor of 3. X squared and x to the power 1. The smallest power is x to the power 1, so that goes outside. 3x times what makes x squared? 3x times x, then minus 1 is 0. So we have two possible solutions. Either 3x equals 0, the thing outside the bracket equals 0, which gives us x equals 0, 3 times 0 is 0, or the bracket itself equals 0, so x minus 1 equals 0, so x must be 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. So our two possible x values, I'm going to write in my coordinates there. The first number in our coordinates is, of course, the x value. Now, since they are asking for coordinates, they do want y coordinates as well. And if you've been watching the previous videos, this should be fairly straightforward stuff for you. We need to put our x values into the original function, or the original equation, the one they give us in the question there. So when x equals 0, y is going to be, everywhere I see x, I'm going to put 0 instead. 0 cubed minus 1.5 times 0 squared plus 1. Well, that's all 0, isn't it, apart from the 1, so that's 1. So 0, 1. And the other possibility is when x equals 1. So in our original equation, put x equals 1. So y equals 1 cubed minus 1.5 times 1 squared plus 1. So 1 cubed, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 1 squared is 1, so 1.5 times 1 is 1.5, and plus a 1. Right then, so 1 plus 1, that would give me 2, and then minus the 1.5, that's 0.5, isn't it? So 1 minus 1.5 plus 1 is 0.5. So there's the answer to that question. That's a good 4 marks, isn't it, if you know what you're doing, and by this time probably you do know what you're doing. Look for the clues in the question. As soon as you see this phrase, stationary points or turning points, it's the same thing. Differentiate, do your dy by dx, put your dy by dx equals 0, and solve. Well, I'm looking at two exam questions in this particular video, and notice how they're mixing things up a little bit here. This one, it's a show that question. Well, show that questions require a certain kind of method. They tell us the answer basically, but we are not allowed to use the answer. We have to pretend that we don't know it, and we work our way towards it and show every line of our working. If I'm doing a show that question, I would tend to write down probably more working than I really needed. We have done videos about this one, expanding 2 brackets. Of course, this is expanding 3 brackets, but the method is pretty much the same. What you need to do with this is expand 2 of the brackets first. I usually go with this. So, since it's a show that question, I'm going to make sure I'm writing everything down here. So 3 minus x times 3 plus x. Everything in the first bracket multiplied by everything in the second bracket. 3 times x, 3x. What's next? Negative x times 3, negative 3x. And then negative x times positive x. Negative 1 times positive 1, negative 1, x times x, x squared. Now, this actually simplifies quite nicely, doesn't it? Simplifying the x, 3x minus 3x is just going to be 0, isn't it? So all we're left with is 9 minus x squared. So the next line of my working out, I'm going to write it maybe a little bit more detailed than I really need. X plus 1, 3 minus x, 3 plus x is now exactly the same thing as x plus 1 multiplied by 9 minus x squared. Because I just multiplied those second pair of brackets together, the second and third brackets together. So now all I have to do is multiply everything in the first bracket by everything in the second bracket. So x times 9, that's 9x. X times negative x squared, well, negative x times x squared, x cubed. 1 times 9, positive 1 times 9, positive 9. Positive 1 times negative x squared, just negative x squared. And then finally, what I'm left with, if I simplify this, actually there's no simplifying to be done, is there? I've got a single x term, a single x cubed, a 9 and a negative x squared. So all I need to do is just write it in the way that they are telling me to. So y equals, the 9 would be first, I've got the 9 there, and I've got 9x, it's a positive 9x, and I've got a minus x squared, and I've got a minus x cubed. So there we are, I'll give myself 2 marks. The idea of the show that question, of course, is that even if you don't manage to do the show that, you can still use the result in the next part of the question. And here is the next part of the question. Right, calculate the x values of the turning points of that, which is the function we just saw. Show all your working and give your answers correct to 2 decimal places. They only want x values here, not coordinates, so that's making things slightly easier. However, looking at the marks, they're giving us 7 marks for this, so there's going to be some work involved here. And I've said it before, I can understand why some students who don't consider themselves natural mathematicians might look at this, see that there's almost nothing in the question, no real guidance, and then look at the 7 marks and think, I don't know how to do this, and just pass by and do something else. But you really don't need to do that, because we are seeing the clues in the question, aren't we? So y equals, and it's 9 plus 9x minus x squared minus x cubed. And there's the big clue, isn't it? Turning points, coordinates of the turning points. We know what to do if we see that. We differentiate, so dy by dx, differentiate. So a number on its own differentiates to 0. Just a number times x differentiates to 9. Negative x squared multiplied by the power and decrease the power by 1 and then negative x cubed, negative 3x squared, like that. And we have to put this equal to 0 and solve. Now, we should recognize this is a quadratic equation, so I'm going to write it in the usual way for quadratic equations. Negative 3x squared minus 2x and then a plus 9 equals 0. So it's something x squared, something x plus some number equals 0. So they're mixing up different topics here. Now, if you've watched the videos about using the quadratic equation formula, then you'll recognize the key words in this question. Look, show all your working and give your answers correct to 2 decimal places. That's what they say in the questions where they want us to use the quadratic equation formula. So the clue for this is that they want us to use the quadratic equation formula. Right, so we've got this equation here, haven't we? Negative 3x squared plus 2x plus 9 equals 0. When I'm doing quadratic equation formula questions, especially, we know it says show all your working, so that's basically what I'm going to do. I always follow the same method. Identify my A, which is the x number, in this case negative 3, my B, which is in this case negative 2, and the C, the number on its own, which is 9. Then I work out b squared minus 4ac. So be careful here, that's negative 2 in brackets squared minus 4 times negative 3 times 9. And they do want us to use a calculator here, otherwise they wouldn't have said 2 decimal places. So calculator job for this one, negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 3 times 9, and that's giving me 112. That's the first thing I would do with this. If you follow my method here, you will be showing all your working out and you will be getting the answer. If you need a little bit more practice of this, look at the videos that I posted earlier about solving quadratic equations using the formula. So now I need to use the quadratic equation formula, so x equals, and they do give you this formula in the formula page of the exam, but it's minus b. Well, b was negative 2, so minus b is positive 2. Minus b just means change the sign. Plus square root b squared minus 4ac, which I already worked out was 112, divide by 2 times a, 2 times negative 3, and we'll find out what that equals in a minute. And the second solution is literally the same thing, except instead of a plus in the middle there, we have a minus. Everything else stays exactly the same. Let's see what we get here then. Type it into your calculator exactly as it looks. So 2 plus, try it yourself while I'm doing this. Make sure you know how to operate your calculator. And I've got, for this one, press the SD button, I've got negative 2.09716. I'll just write down the first few decimal places, and then the second solution, I've got 1.4305008, and then 74. Notice I'm writing down most of my calculator answer there. In case there are method marks going, I do want to get those method marks, so I'm not going to go straight to the rounded answer just yet. But now I will go to the rounded answer. So what's that? 2 decimal places. Well, the second one is the easier to put to 2 decimal places, isn't it? I'll do that first. 1.4305. So 2 decimal places. The second digit after the decimal point is there. Look at the next number. It's a 0. Is that round up or stay the same? Stay the same. So 1.43. The first one is a little bit more difficult, I thought, so I just left it for the moment. 2 decimal places, 2 digits after the decimal point, like that. Now we look at the next digit. That's a 7. So does that tell us to round up or stay the same? Tells us to round up. So the 9 has to round up to become a 10. So what we get for this one, and this is a little bit of a tricky one, isn't it? 2.10, negative 2.10 is 2 decimal places. And it's worth saying, I suppose, that even though numerically that's exactly the same number as negative 2.1, you do need to include the 0, because if they want 2 decimal places, 2 digits after the decimal point, that's what you should give them. I hope the video was useful to you. And if the video was useful, then please do consider liking and subscribing. Thank you very much for watching. I will return next time for more mathematics exam questions that are the same every time, apart from the numbers.